All right. I really dig the content Montoya has been putting out lately. He's focusing on financials, which is, I think, if I want to focus on financials other than the only person I'd want to see with financials in Cloud Imperium and Star Citizen is myself. I did a Star Atlas thing. We talked about that for over an hour. We're going to talk about that a little bit later today in today's show. But like, it was based off of Star Atlas. I was basically reacting to Montoya's Star Atlas reaction. But I was also talking about Star Atlas, the formation of it. And he's talking about financials, and it's great to see him. He's an older dude like myself. I can take him a little bit more seriously. You know, it seems like he has some type of experience in the financial world, just being an adult at the age we're at. I think we've got a little bit more experience than some. But he's talking about how Star Citizen cleared 100 million this year in revenue, which is a record, by the way, and quite amazing. And one thing I would say, here's a caveat. I'm very happy because it promotes the game further. It locks down Cloud Imperium as a legit developer in the space. But my concerns are this. If the focus becomes more about sales and less about development, I get worried. And that is something, that is the fulcrum of a lot of my arguments when it comes to development with Star Citizen and the development of the game versus the marketing of the game and the sales of the game and the whole ship sales dragging in the revenue. Now, that's good because they're bringing that in. But also, if that's the focus becomes 90% that and 10%, game development, that's where I feel like we're starting to get into. Now, of course, that's extreme. It's not 90-10. But I feel like it's getting into like 60-40. I feel like now, like more focus is on ships, which is, again, why they have the 100 million in revenue, which is, a very amazing thing to do. If you really think about it, getting that kind of money from the people who actually want to play the game in 1 year, 100 million, that's pretty impressive. So I'm just going to, right now, that's their marketing department or their sales department and the development team pumping out these ships. They've got a rhythm, right? The development of the ships, however, there's a lot of questioning on. We're going to watch a Grumpy Eye video later talking about the development and a couple back steps where John Cruz said certain things. And, you see an interview 5 months ago, he's saying one thing about ship development. You see an interview 3 months ago, he's saying a completely different thing about ship development. Then you see, just last week, you saw him on a live stream, and he said something, again, completely different about ship development. And you start to wonder, like, okay, the management. You start to wonder, like, okay, is this a John Crew thing in the way he's managing his department with ship production? Is this a higher up tier of management that's managing John Crew and his team? Like, there seems to be a slight disconnect, and I think the hammer needs to be brought down a little bit. I've always been the type of dude that I've been following game development so long now, over 10 years, that I try to take both sides rationally. And by sides, I'm talking about the developer and the gamer. And a lot of people would say, okay, it's the developers versus a gamer, and that's totally untrue. The symmetry of the development of the game relies heavily on each other, the symbiosis. In order to have the game be successful, there has to be a connection between the developers and the gamer in a positive way, right? There's a lot of negative toxicity out there. Under all of that, under the muck, there has to be a genuine connection with a large percentage of the backers of any game that's in development and the developers. And a lot of that has to do with transparency. A lot of that has to do with honesty. A lot of that has to do with genuine, like, truth coming out of the developer's mouth. And you have to look at that and you have to be skeptical and say, is this guy trying to just sell me something? Or is this guy actually doing this because he loves to do it? Now, 80% of the time, in my own mind, I feel like Cloud Imperium devs are pretty genuine in their passion for the project, are pretty genuinely interested in getting this done. But when I start to hear some of the things John Crew said over the past, and I love John Crew, I think he's very dedicated dude. I'm just starting to wonder and question the management of John Crew and the management of whoever is managing John Crew and the ship development team, and how many resources are actually dedicated to ship development. Like, how many people are working in ship development? Why are ships that have been in since 2013 not completed yet? You know, like, and again, they say they want to have the ships have gameplay with them because you walk around, you do the tour, and you know, the ships only have very limited functioning, you know, and I get that. But on the other hand, we do want some of these ships that we've been waiting on for 7+ years to be done already, you know, so you have to start being very skeptical and looking at that and saying, well, what is the disconnect? However, I'm going to get off the soapbox here, and we're going to watch Montoya's video about the 100 million in revenue, which I think is, again, an amazing feat. And by me speaking this way and having a real talk moment with everybody, I am not dissing. I am not putting down the work of Cloud Imperium at all. I know how hard it is to be a dev. I know how frustrating it is to be, just because I've been covering it so long. I don't have the firsthand knowledge of it because I'm not a developer, but I know many developers and I know what they go through. So it's not an easy thing to be a developer. It is a heavy, heavy workload. It is a crazy amount of grind that normally the average gamer has no concept about. But that does not give a pass to developers to say, well, it's not done because it's not done. Like, there has to be, like, responsibility put onto the management of John Crew's team. Whether it's John Crew or somebody above him, there has to be some type of culpability where you look at it and say, okay, there's a bar here. We're using this bar to measure everything with. Are you above or below the bar, right? Kiss says the majority of ships that are large is because of the missing gameplay loops. Also, some technology needs to be developed, but that is starting to come to fruition with PS. Right. Persistent entity streaming. Yes. Right. And it's like an onion. There's so many layers. There's so many layers that depend upon one another. But let's watch this Montoya video about the 100 million in revenue. I digress. Let's watch.
Hey there, Star Citizen fans. Welcome back to the channel. I am Montoya. I run the largest player guild in Star Citizen. I'm making this video to talk about Star Citizen cracking over $100 million for the year so far, and I'm lying because it's actually 104 million at the time of this video, 22 million just this month, which is not over just yet. Now, every single year, without fail, journalists go and write articles about Star Citizen making a certain amount of money and them not understanding how. And then they go interview antagonists. They start interviewing haters and going, if Star Citizen is so bad, how are they making this money? And they go, well, it must be a scam.
Right,
they come up with those ridiculous theories. And every year they keep embarrassing themselves. When Star Citizen cleared $37 million for the year,
yeah, and we're at a particular juncture. We're at a point now where they're hitting it out of the park. I mean, these are like grand slam numbers right now for them. I mean, hitting over 100 million in a year is like, whew, that's some crazy type of magic right there. You know, they've got the recipe down. Like Fingers had said in chat, he says management are the ones pushing for ship pipeline revenue. We don't know that, but it seems like the statistics and the data shows it to us that they are in fact pushing for this pipeline revenue. Ships, right? And I want to start, now that we're this successful, I want gears to start to shift. You know, like Fingers brings up a really good point. I want the gears to start to shift. Okay, we're knocking out of the park with sales. Let's take this money and let's pump up our resources. Like Kiss is saying, there's going to be an increase in devs this year. Good. There's going to be an increase in devs this year because of this. Proportionally speaking, how much of this revenue is going to go to that? Now, that's the question. And that, to me, is really the answer that I seek. Because now that they're knocking it out of the park, this was my biggest thing. My biggest worry is they're not making enough revenue to post profits. Well, they posted a profit. We saw that. We went over the quarterlies. We went over the end of year, the profit and loss, the P&L. That's just recently, or not recently published, but was published a while ago, and I covered that. And, you know, we posted a profit for the first time in a very long time, and a substantial one. And I hope we're going to see more profits. I hope we're going to see more posting of profits. And I want to start seeing this money being allocated correctly and put towards ship development. And I want management to be more streamlined. And I want the ship production to start to just be almost automated. And for that to happen, you have to focus on the ship development team. Like, to the minutia. Because when I listen to John Crew talk, sometimes I'm like, oh man, I feel sometimes like he's even questioning like what's going on in the process of developing ships. And it scares me because John Crew, usually on camera, comes off pretty good. And he comes off like he knows what he's talking about. But within the past few months, seeing this kind of double speak or seeing his stance change over the span of 5 months, hey, you know, that happens. That does happen over the timeline, right? But seeing over a 5 to 6 month span, such a shift makes me a little nervous. It makes me wonder.
Said, well, that's impossible. There's no star systems. They keep on promising, and the game's not complete, and it's possibly a scam. The next year, it did 47 million. Same articles come out again. How can they make $50 million if there's no game? And then they go interview someone who hates the game, and they complain about it. Then they go the next year, $78 million. Once again, go interview someone who hates the game and ask them what the problem is. Here's a challenge to you, journalists. Kotaku, I'm looking at you too. Speak to someone who understands the issues here, all right? Talk to someone who can tell you why this is happening. That would be reporting,
Montoya.
Because I'm tired and I'm getting ahead of the curve on this one. I guarantee you there's going to be a bunch of journalists coming out saying $100 million raised for the year, but there is no game. Why is that? I'll tell you why right now.
Oh,
you got to stop looking at Star Citizen as a game in development. Now, I know this sounds pretty rich because the game is in development. There's one star system. They said there'd be 100. There's a whole pipeline of ships not coming yet.
I want to hear how he explains his way out of this one.
There's a whole bunch of game loops not in the game yet. But what we have right now in the game, now not me personally, but I know people putting in hundreds of hours every week playing the game. What is it they're doing? Or what is it about this game which keeps people coming back for hundreds of hours every week? And
I'll tell you what it is. You know, like, it's not just the players coming on board and playing all the time. And there's the backing, the very reason that people are logging in and playing is other people and having a good time with friends, because it's a multiplayer game, and it's truly, in essence, a multiplayer game, like where people generally like to play with other people, and you're starting to see a lot more content like that, where you're seeing people playing together, having a good time, regardless of the bugs, right? So there is a game there for people to enjoy, or an experience, right? I wouldn't say a game yet, right? I would personally still call this a game in development. You know, it's obviously a game in development. I don't know where he's going with this, but like, I would say that the driving backer behind that $100 million is imagination, is people wanting the everything game. I talk about this all the time. You guys are probably so sick and tired of hearing me say this, but I can't say it enough, and so I will say it again. The reason why you're seeing success in every one of these months basically beating each other month out, more people are starting to play it together in a multiplayer fashion. Sure, you're going to have people that want to do the solo thing, but the fun is in the multiplayer. And, you know, people come back for it, socially speaking, having a good time together, having fun with one another. But it's also very rooted in the fact that this is the everything game. It is being touted as the everything game. It is going to give us every experience that we want. And people will continue to support a game that's going to give you everything that you want. There is not a game out there that has ever done that or promised to do that. And this is the game that is promising to do it. There's no other game in town that's promising everything. And that is why there is such scrutiny. That is why there is such, and rightly so, that is why there are so many eyes on this. And it grows and it grows and it grows because it is the game that is promising you everything, everything. And it's this weird self-fulfilling prophecy where if you have enough people that believe in it and you throw so much money at it, I know this, throwing money at a problem, throwing money at anything, usually in itself, is not enough. But if you have enough money to throw and you're buried under that money, chances are it's going to work somehow. What we have to make sure is that the people we're throwing the money at are managing it correctly.
Putting in $100 million. I'll tell you. So if you're a journalist, reach out to me. Let me fill you in on the secrets. But more to the topic, I want to discuss $100 million, which sounds like an insane amount of money, but not when you consider it as gaming as a service. Yes, gaming as a service. Star Citizen might not be complete, but as a game as a service, gaming as a service, how does it compare to other games out there? Yes, it is incomplete. Yes, there's only one star system. Yes, there's a tons of stuff. The game loops not.
And that is the crux of a lot of this, right? Pyro is determined on tech that's still being worked on until we get like a multi-system environment. You know, we're waiting on certain tech. There's only one system, you know, but in that one system, for people that don't know, that don't know much about Star Citizen, they hear there's only one system. They think, oh, Jesus, only one system. That's ridiculous. When you get into Star System and you play in Stanton, you realize, like, wow, Stanton is so freaking huge. And you realize that one system gives you a lot of places to go. Now, what you're able to do in those places is a completely different argument. But that one system offers a lot, in my eyes, for a game in development, which it is. Let's keep going.
Done. Let's see what other games have done. Now, I jumped to mobile games because I just don't understand this, okay? I don't understand how in the month of June, not for the year, but for the month of June, and I talk about this because I want you to understand the immense amount of capital out there. I want you to get a gauge, an idea of the pool of money that exists for gaming out there. For the month of June, for the single month of June, the top grossing mobile game, and we'll get to other games in a second, was Honor of Kings. What the hell is Honor of Kings? I have no idea what that is. Do you know anyone who plays Honor of Kings?
No,
someone
but
must.
It's huge.
Because they made $282 million for the month, not talking the year or the quarter. For the month of June, Honor of Kings, whatever that is, made $238 million. Now, Genshin Impact, that's a name I do recognize, all right?
Yeah.
They made $154 million. What? Yeah. I don't get it, all right?
I do. I get it, and I'm going to tell you why. Because we're cyborgs now, man. Our phones are attached to us. So, like, of course, the item that we have that we're most attached to is going to drive most revenue. I mean, I understand it completely. And that's why mobile gaming is so big, you know. A lot of kids, man, they don't want to take the time out. They don't have the money for some of these PCs, dudes. And they're just using their phones, and mobile gaming is a larger section of the pie than PC games because more people are on their phones and more people only have time to be on their phones. You're going to see computing power go to a phone one day, like true gaming computer power go to a phone one day. Will people play it more than they will at their PC? You're always going to have a hardcore, dedicated PC elite gamer community, like DG360. Yeah, we love PC. We love we're PC Master Race here. This is it. This is where the gaming's at. You're seeing a lot more people taking the time to save for PCs rather than consoles. You know, but it is still a small slice of the pie compared to the mobile gaming market. The mobile gaming market is huge. And once people realize this in the PC world and the tech is there to give us these experiences where you can put, you know, an NVIDIA 4000 series into a phone. I know it sounds ludicrous, right? But I do believe one day that's going to be a thing. What I was just thinking in my head, like, wouldn't it be funny if like there was a USB port thing where you plug the 4000 series from a USB cable like directly into your phone, and you had the power of it. That anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. I'm going crazy right now thinking about this. But like mobile gaming is going to be much bigger when you're able to have the graphic processing power that we have now put into these phones. And eventually you're just going to have like VR experiences, VR gaming, and that's going to be huge. And you're going to have mobile gaming. So VR gaming and mobile gaming are going to be huge once that tech gets here. But that's a little far off. That's a little far off from now. And you're still going to always have a very dedicated PC gaming hardcore audience.
Pokemon Go, I know this one, all right? $110 million for the month.
I love you. I love your guys' comments, by the way.
Never mind
I'm reading
mobile
all your
gaming.
comments.
Let's take a look at normal games.
What's up, Steel?
Like you mentioned Ninja, like PUBG Mobile.
Ostentatious
Okay,
Calamity, Mad Style.
okay.
Good to see you guys.
This is insane to me.
Mad
all right?
Style's been here a while. Props to
PUBG
Mad
Mobile
Style.
was the top grossing game in 2021
Yeah,
with
my son
$2
played a lot of
billion
PUBG Mobile.
in revenue. Understand what 2 billion is. That's 2,000 million. All right?
All right.
2 billion in revenue for the year, for 2021. That's insane. Genshin Impact, 1.3 billion. Roblox, 1 billion. Here's an interesting one, because I know a lot about Roblox. My kids, they're addicted. They're in all the time. I give them $5 every now and then. $5 gets you 5,000 Robux. Robux being the in-game currency. With that in-game currency, they get to buy skins, items in-game, little things they do.
By the way,
there are...
dude, Roblox is crazy nuts, man. Like, you know, they got to clean that up. Like, my kid used to play Roblox years ago, and I remember getting in there, and they had like strip clubs and, you know, like dance. I'm like, what is going on in here, man? Roblox, man. Seriously, if you have like an audience that's kids, clean that up. Clean it up a little bit. Get some like moderation in that stuff, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. These kids, they're having way too much fun, man. They're having way too much fun in Roblox.
$1 billion worth of parents giving their kids Robux to buy assets in that game, which is
I hope it's
mind-blowing.
changed.
Now, Roblox is
years
a
ago.
very well-established game and very well-organized. They deserve that 1 billion, but keep in mind, $1 billion compared to that.
What if COVID?
That's like 1,000 times that.
Too much, bro. Drink some coffee.
So $100 million raised for Star Citizen.
Go grab some food.
Is impressive, and I'm amazed by it. Every year, I'm amazed by it. Every single year, we get the same journalists writing the same articles. In 2018, they write, $37 million raise, but there's no game. Let's interview someone who hates the game and ask them about it. Then the next year comes along and they go, oh, $47 million raised, but there's no game. Let's go interview someone who hates the game and ask them about it.
I mean, that's
and they keep doing that year after year after year. So if you are a journalist looking to write
here's
about...
the thing. I stopped getting frustrated about that because I understand the nature of it all. They're just doing it for the clickety-clacks, and that's all they're there for. Like, they're not reporting anything, really. It's just sensationalized, like clickety-clacks is all they're doing.
But why Star Citizen has now raised $100 million in a single year? My DMs are open. Post below. I will be happy to run you through it. Gaming as a service, the game is there. For so many people, the game is there already.
Yeah, but like this is why Montoya gets called a white knight a lot, because he's really pushing this narrative. And I will say this. I don't think Montoya is a white knight. I think he's just very passionate about this project. I think all of us are passionate about this project. But I just want to view it in the lens of like the management style and where the focus is at. Like, I want to make sure that the 100 million in revenue is going to be busted down properly, and that they shove it into the ship development resources. Like, if they're really going to use ship, like they have been for years, this pipeline of ship design, this pipeline of ship sales, if they're really going to put the focus on it, which we know they are because we see it in the numbers, then I want to make sure that there's money allocated towards the ship dev team to get these done in a timely manner, in an effective, efficient manner, so that we have more ships. And I also want a hell of a lot more money pushed towards the tech that needs to be solved to progress us to Pyro and multi-system play. Like, that's where the money needs to be. We all know it. Nobody's saying it. And we all need to push for that. And we all need to be very vocal about that. And the time of just being super positive and loving what I'm seeing is coming to an end. I'm getting much more serious now. This is a bear market. And I'm glad that Cloud Imperium is surviving in a bear market, because it makes me feel like, hey, they are financially healthy. In a bear market, they're pulling in the best numbers seen that they've ever had. when we compare with mobile gaming, obviously mobile gaming is going to beat the shit out of most anything. I don't think that's a great comparison to use mobile gaming. I think what he was just trying to show people is like, hey, this industry pulls in this kind of money, but you're comparing apples to oranges here, you know? So to me, it's not a great analogy. It's not a great way to like compare what's happening here to mobile gaming. I get what he's trying to do there. I just don't necessarily agree with it. And that's why Montoya gets shoved into a white knight category. And I think that's kind of unfair because, like, at the end of the day, he's reporting facts. He's reporting what he sees. And sure, he's got his opinions about a Kotaku and the sensationalized media. Like, I agree with him as well. I think it's all clickety-clack these days. I think a lot of content creators are clickety-clack these days. And yeah, I really make sure that when I watch things that I want on the morning show, that they're filled with opinion, that is sensible, that is intelligent, but also that has like data, numbers, facts. That's what I like. That and fart noises. Hold on one second. Yeah, fart noises are very important. Thank you, Dark Spike. Best timing of an alert ever. Best timing of an alert ever. Really love that. The fart followed by that was very heavenly. Wow. So professional. So professional.
And I don't want to sound overly optimistic, and I keep on doing this every year. I keep saying, back in 2019, I don't know if Star Citizen can crack 47 million. It's a lot of money. Then 2020 comes along. Go, I don't know if they can crack 80 million.
I knew
that's a lot of money. Then 2021 came along.
They could.
I said, you know what? $86 million. I'll be surprised if they can crack over that in 2022. Here we are, $100 million in 2022. It blows my mind.
It also helps that larger YouTubers are getting into Star Citizen.
Will that be the year where this finally slows down? It might be.
It could be.
I can't see how this keeps on going the way it does.
In a bear market, they're doing that's insane.
But keep in mind, we do have Pyro coming out, the 4.0 patch. There's a couple more game loops coming out. There's always new
Pyro's
chips in the pipeline are coming back in. People come in for these patches.
But 4.0
is a big one, which we're expecting next year. So will that be the catalyst to give us 120, 140, 150 million dollars, which sounds insane for Star Citizen to make the kind of money until you actually look at...
Yeah, until you look at the numbers for mobile gaming, still not the greatest comparison. Mobile gaming is going to blow away most anything. But I will say this, and for the reasons I stated, but I will say this, to see that chart and to see that chart go from the bottom left to the top upper right is pretty impressive in terms of development, in terms of amount of money being brought in. The revenue is just going to keep going up, in my opinion. If you can get over 100 million a year in one of the craziest blood-sucking bear markets this economy has seen, and you can be this lean and mean making this kind of money, like for people calling Cloud Imperium, like, you know, for people calling this a scam, I don't know where you're coming from. Like, I don't know where you're coming from. They're still very transparent. They obviously are focusing on their fan base. They want to make the game. They're passionate about it. They're just as frustrated. I seriously think it's a managerial issue. We've talked about this before. We've talked about this.
To make the kind of money until you actually look at what other games are making. Can Star Citizen do a fraction of what Roblox does? It can. It absolutely can. Can Star Citizen beat Candy Crush and make 850 million in a year?
That is funny.
It's possible.
I love that.
Keep in mind the demographics here also, right? In Roblox, demographics are kids. So these are parents spending money on their kids.
Right.
In Star Citizen, the main demographic in Star Citizen, oh, we'll get to this in a second. The main demographic in Star Citizen, according to my YouTube channel, is the 35 to 45-year-old age range.
Yeah, I would say.
In my channel anyway.
The people with money.
These are people with jobs. These people have disposable income.
Right.
And these people are funding the game to the tune of 100 million.
Which, when you see that clickety-clack content of people being, like trying to shame people for spending money, like it's usually like people that are much younger and they're like early 20s that don't understand the concept. and for you people in their younger 20s watching right now that do, congratulations. I'm giving you some applause right now because it means you're an old soul and you know what's going on. So cheers to the younger crowd that understand what I just said right there. $1 million.
To give you a clue what's happening here with I'm looking at the monthly. Actually, let's go to the week. This is what happened last week, all right? 11 million just last week. With the sale of the Galaxy, that's a big concept shift. Definitely went very well. Let's go to the monthly chart over here. Now, there was a big spike we had in May. I see it came down to around 5 million at the low.
They need to take this chart and do like a yearly. And they need to, like, I am so upset that they just stop at the month. Why don't they make this a chart that you can see from the very beginning of time? I cannot stand this on their website. It has bothered me forever. If there's a dev watching right now, fix this so we can see the entirety of the chart from the very beginning, please. Like anybody that's interested in charts or a trader as myself, if you're going just for monthlies, I want to see more. I want to see more.
Lows spiking back up, and one more day tomorrow, which will complete this month, and we'll see another spike up to the $22 million range after that. So massive amounts of money, and I'm always blown away by it. But keep in mind, compared to what's out there, other games selling items in-game, selling skins, selling assets, look what they're pulling in, all right? Roblox pulling in $1 billion from selling.
We get it. Montoya, here's the thing. I really enjoy Montoya's content. I think he's a pretty chill, cool dude. He actually came over and commented. He was trying to school me, like I didn't know what I was talking about on financials. I saw that, Montoya. But like it is with a very similar mindset I have in terms with Montoya on the financials of SIG, their health, that it is not a scam, that this is a legit company. These are people who are wanting to make this everything game, period. It's just how they're doing it. And that's where we really need to focus. We need to focus on how they're doing it. Are we happy with it? I'm shifting gears here. You're going to see a much leaner, meaner DG in the next coming months and in 2023. You're going to see a DG that wants to get shit done. And I am definitely going to be pushing more for a leaner, meaner machine for Cloud Imperium to put the controls on and set the controls for the Heart of the Sun. If you guys understand that reference, I want to set the controls for the Heart of the Sun. Let's get back to the show.